Good morning, I'm Bridget Washington, chef and cookbook author. This morning at the Dinah Eagle Teaching and Research Kitchen at NC State for EFNEP, we are going to be talking about all things broccoli. We're going to be making a riff on the traditional takeout favorite, beef and double broccoli. But in this case, we'll be adding a lot more broccoli. We'll be giving this takeout favorite a healthy facelift by doing two types of broccoli, steamed in the beef and also roasted. So let's get started. So here we have our broccoli. And broccoli, when you're looking to purchase broccoli, you should always look for florets that are tight and compact. The broccoli should be heavy in relation to its size. The stem should be rough and smooth at the same time. And the broccoli should really have a very tight, verdant color and texture. Broccoli, like most coniferous vegetables, are very high in fiber, and fiber aids in digestion and also relieves constipation. Broccoli is high in compounds that ward against a lot of ailments and helps with cell growth. In addition to broccoli, today we're also beginning using a lot of other ingredients that really are nutritional powerhouses as well. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is roast our broccoli. So here we have a half a cup of broccoli that we're going to toss with some oil, vegetable oil, a pinch of salt, and some black pepper. And also lemon juice. Lemon juice is really high in vitamin C, and it is incredibly important in your immunity. Now, to juice, you could use a juicer, but what I like to use to juice citrus is really to just use a spoon. It comes out, you get the same product. So I just use a spoon and I punch into the lemon, and the spoon, what you can use, if there's not a lot of seeds, it really comes out easily. So no need for a fancy citrus juicer. A spoon would work. We're gonna pour that over the broccoli, use your hands, and we're gonna just toss it. And the same oil, salt and pepper, and lemon mixture you could use to roast a variety of vegetables. And you get a really nice heady punch of citrus, and everything just comes together. So we're gonna put this into a 400-degree oven for about 15 minutes. Next, we're going to start on the actual beef and broccoli. So here we have some extra lean ground beef, some more broccoli, scallions, soy sauce, ground ginger, and garlic. Now, between the garlic and the ginger, you have two really important ingredients needed for not just big flavors, but incredible defense against a lot of ailments. Garlic always is ingredient key in lowering blood pressure, and ginger is an incredible antibacterial. And together, not only do they impart really fresh, powerful bites of flavor, but they really does work magic in regulating a really smooth digestive system. So we're going to mince our garlic. You just take your raw cloves of garlic and you pound it down using the flat side of a chef's knife and the bottom part of your palm. And then you have a minced garlic. And why it's important to smash the garlics like that is that, as you can see, it releases a lot of those garlicky juices. And this is what really is going to go into the beef and season it up. Because you could have left the clove whole, but you wouldn't have gotten these really important extraction of juices. And after you got that, we're just going to run our knife through it. And the pieces, it should be minced, but it should not be small. And there you have it. So you're going to turn on stove. And we're not adding any oil, additional fat to this pan. Ground beef, even lean ground beef, contains enough fat in itself, and that will naturally render out during the cooking process. So here we take our ground beef. We're just going to put it in. I'm using a spoon. We're going to mash it. And we don't want the ground beef in this dish to be too small. You actually want the pieces to be somewhat big, because if you remember, when you order a beef and broccoli, they usually use a more expensive cut, like a sirloin cut, and you have those big pieces of beef. And so here we are really trying to mimic that, but we're doing it in a way that's very accessible and not cost prohibitive. So we're gonna leave the chunks of beef as big as possible and just let the heat do its work. Now to this, while this is cooking, we're gonna season it with salt and pepper. Just a good pinch of salt and a good pinch of pepper. 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. Now, or you can use fresh. And ginger, like we said, it really does help in terms of allowing your digestive system to just be more flowing and not a lot of inflammation. So we're going to season that up with ground ginger. That's 2 teaspoons. And then the garlic that we freshly minced. And we're not going to stir it up right now. We're just going to let all of that cook for a short time. And you could really start smelling the garlic and the ginger do its thing. And while this is cooking, while the meat is cooking with these aromatics, we're going to start with our rice. I'm choosing to use brown rice over white rice because it's a naturally healthier substitute, and it's also lighter. The brown rice also has a really unique nutty texture, which adds a nice round burst of flavor to this dish. And the secret for rice is always 1 pot rice to 2 pots water. So here we just have a cup of rice. Turn this on. And then our water. And cover that. And that will rip. So, coming back to our beef. You see now that a lot of bubbles are starting to form. We did not put any oil, but as you can see, a lot of that flavor and fat are being rendered out. And that's why you don't always have to use an additional fat when cooking ground beef. It's enough to let the natural fats on its own be an agent of cooking. So now we're going to just try to flip this over. And you can see we're adding, the pieces are still very large, and that's what you want. Because again, we're trying to get that authentic takeout without the takeout price by keeping the beef pieces as big and intact as possible. and it smells delicious. Now, while this is cooking, we're also going to add one ingredient that is what I call a little bit of magic, because we're going to add scallions. And we're adding the scallions to the end, but scallions are a very underutilized element of cooking. Now, when you're looking to buy scallions, you should look for, again, a very smooth, long piece. The stems should be tough and relent to the touch, and the leaves should also be really smooth and tender. Scallions are very high in vitamin C and K, and so this entire dish really boasts a lot of elements that ward against infection, which is an important element these days. When you're cooking with scallions, people tend to disregard the white. Use it. The white contains very important flavor compounds as well. And also, when you're cooking scallions, the best part is that you buy one and it lasts, because they can be easily grown. What you do is that you take your scallion, you take the bottom end of the white part that you're not cooking, so leave some white intact to chop, and then we could just pop it in some water, and in a couple days, that in itself will start blooming, and in about a week's time, you will be able to have a whole new batch of freshly reproduced scallions in water, room temperature, on your kitchen counter. It really is a little miracle. So I'm just going to put that there. And now we're going to chop our scallions. And just a rough chop, because this is what's going to go on top of the dish. And when you're chopping it, you can tell how fresh it is, because if you're getting that nice, clean, grassy smell emanating from the first chop, then you know it's really fresh and verdant. And it imparts not just remarkable color, but also a different flavor profile. And it's just very fresh. I added on top a lot of dishes. So let's check on our beef. It is cooking wonderfully. As you can see, with just 2 ingredients, the ginger and the garlic, it's starting to really show some of its potential. And again, you want the chunks whole. I know the temptation would be to try to break it up, but resist that temptation, because we really want it whole to be as close to the takeout as possible. So next, we're going to add in our broccoli. And our umami-rich soy sauce. And we're going to lower the stove and cover it and let this cook. And while this is cooking, you really have to appreciate the value of taking takeout staples like beef and broccoli and making it your own with just a few simple substitutions. Broccoli does a lot of wonders, and what I like most about broccoli is that it's very accessible. It's year-round. It's the type of ingredient, the type of vegetable that really holds up to a lot of different cookings, and it is very forgiving. It's very hard to mess up broccoli. And so by giving it this new approach with some ingredients that are typically found in an Asian pantry, soy sauce and ginger, you're bringing some of those flavors at home, but you're also doing it in a way that doesn't sacrifice the taste. It's very simple, but it's very effective. So let's check on the broccoli. As you can see, it's steaming really nicely. We're just going to give it a stir. And you want the broccoli to be steamed, but you also really want it to not to be overcooked, because overcooking the broccoli will really allow some of those nutritional elements to relent. And you want to keep all of the nutritional components in the broccoli as intact as possible. And so in this dish, the ground beef will take about 10 minutes or so to cook. And you really want to make sure that the ground beef is cooked fully to completion. And we're just going to continue stirring. And again, the beef is a nice, big, hearty chunks. So you really will be getting that authentic feel of a traditional Chinese, Asian restaurant takeout. So we're going to check the temperature of the beef to make sure it's reached an internal temperature of. And it is at 170, which is exactly where we need to be. And so now, as you can see, the broccoli is cooked, but it's not overcooked, because again, you don't want it to be too overcooked. So right now, we're going to take this off the heat. Let's turn off the heat, and then we will add our scallions, green onions. I'm going to give this a mix. And now we're going to put our final dish together. Let's give that a cover. So here we're going to go into the oven. And our roasted broccoli is cooked beautifully. So, as you can see, you have some caramelization happening here, and that's exactly what you want. The florets are brown on the side that it was on the tray, but it's still very soft and crisp. Again, it's really hard to mess up broccoli. And this way, it's a really approachable way to roast broccoli and add in an extra burst of vital vegetables to whatever you're serving. So here we have some rice, and we're going to spoon the beef and broccoli. And you can see the nice big chunks of not just the meat, but also the garlic. And then also, I'm going to take some of this roasted broccoli and top it on it as well. And even though we're using a lot of broccoli, they have two complete different flavor profiles and texture. The broccoli that was cooked with the meat is a softer, more steamed version. The broccoli that was roasted has a nice, good crunch and crisp to it. And so even though you're using broccoli, one ingredient, by using two different applications, you're really extracting a lot of range from a simple head of broccoli, and that's the goal. So beef and double broccoli, a traditional takeout favorite given new, healthier approach.